You may know how to give, support, and show up for others. But what happens inside you when it is your turn to receive? Receiving should feel natural, yet, for many capable and generous people, it can bring up discomfort before they even understand why. Welcome to Breakthrough Weekly, the podcast where we explore the subconscious beliefs and the patterns that can keep you feeling stuck even when you consciously want something different. I'm Monica Pelayo, certified hypnotherapist and founder of Thriving Pathways. In today's episode, we're exploring why accepting appreciation, support, and opportunity can feel much harder than giving, and what that discomfort may reveal about the beliefs you learned long ago. Do you ever feel uncomfortable when you receive a compliment or recognition? Someone thanks you for helping, a manager recognizes your work in front of the team, a colleague tells you they couldn't have done it without you, and before they've even finished the sentence, you've already answered, "Oh, it was nothing. I was just doing my job. No problem at all." Anyone would have done the same thing. I know I did. And for a long time, I had no idea why. At Intel, we had a formal recognition program. When someone wanted to recognize your work, they would submit it through the company system. It would send an email to the nominee and copy the manager and the person who submitted the recognition. Sometimes it came with a monetary award. I used to receive a lot of recognition because I was a go to person. I was resourceful, and many people knew they could count on me. Whether it was in person or remotely, they knew I would have an answer or know who to connect them with. I did a lot of on site and off site event support. People would come to me when their executive was visiting and needed someone on the ground, regardless of what office or role I was in at the time, whatever it was. If someone needed something, I was the person they called. I understood why I was being recognized. I was going above and beyond. Helping people was something I genuinely enjoyed, not something anyone required of me. I knew I had earned it. What I could not understand was why receiving it made me so uncomfortable. Receiving never felt as natural as it should have. I always responded to the recognition emails with something like, "There is no need to recognize me," or "I was just doing my job." I did not understand then that there was a deeper belief behind why receiving felt so uncomfortable. Every time someone recognized me, I automatically made myself smaller. One moment still sits with me clearly. Our team spent months preparing an annual 3-day leadership event for the data center organization, hosted by a member of our executive leadership team who reports into Intel's CEO. It brought together hundreds of senior leaders and executives along with key collaborators from other organizations. I was part of the core planning team, primarily supporting logistics, although my responsibilities shifted each year depending on what was needed. All of the months of planning paid off, and at the end of the event, the executive hosting it thanked our whole team in front of the room and asked us to stand. I remember feeling two things at once. Part of me loved being recognized for the work and effort that went into making the event flawless. Another part of me was uncomfortable with the exposure and the public recognition. Anytime I received recognition in person, I'd blush. When it was public, I felt exposed. If the recognition came through email, I'd always reply right away with a thank you and find a way to make myself smaller in the same sentence. For years, I told myself I was just being humble, but that's not what was actually happening. It was something unconscious. I wasn't rejecting the compliment, I was rejecting the experience of receiving it. Once I started doing my own inner work, I asked myself why this was so uncomfortable. When you ask yourself a question, the subconscious brings the information forward, usually through memories, feelings, or emotions. Sometimes it's a mental image, like a snapshot if you can't remember the whole memory. That's how the subconscious works. Growing up, compliments were rare in my house. Doing my chores, meeting my responsibilities, that was simply the expectation. If I didn't, there were consequences. That taught me that meeting expectations was simply what I was supposed to do, not something to be recognized for. I was also taught to always be humble. When I look back at my memories, there's very little verbal recognition I can point to. Sometimes helping came with a small reward, but being thanked, praised, or told that my contribution mattered was rare. The one that stands out is my dad's side job doing landscaping. Sometimes we'd help him in the evenings during the week, and on rare occasions, my brother and I would each get a cheeseburger and a shared a box of fries at McDonald's. That was our treat, our reward. Nobody ever taught me how to receive. I learned how to work hard. I learned how to give, to support, to show up for people. Receiving was never part of the lesson. I started noticing the pattern everywhere. Asking for help felt uncomfortable because part of me believed I should be able to handle things on my own. Accepting generosity felt uncomfortable too. Even when someone genuinely wanted to do something kind for me, a part of me immediately wondered, how am I going to repay them? I wasn't only struggling to receive compliments, I was struggling to receive in many areas. Giving felt natural to me. Working hard felt natural. Receiving did not. I got certified in hypnosis because I was trying to understand myself better, and everything I learned, I automatically applied to my own life. One of the things my certification program taught me was how people can give so easily but struggle to receive because of the belief system attached to it. That's when I started paying much closer attention to this pattern in myself and the people I work with. Around that same time, I heard something Pat Gelsinger, Intel's CEO at the time, said in an interview: feedback is a gift. The way he explained it made something click for me. I had already worked through where the discomfort with receiving came from and why receiving mattered, but the way he put it made it so much easier to explain to other people. Feedback is not only criticism or a suggestion for improvement, it could also be recognition, appreciation, or someone simply noticing something you did. Someone hands you a gift, and instead of accepting it, you hand it right back. That is essentially what we do every time we explain away a compliment. Someone says you did an amazing job, and we say it was nothing. I started presenting the rules of mind to the admin community at Intel to teach them what I was learning. One of the things I always highlighted was this: acknowledge the gift instead of immediately minimizing what you contributed. Something as simple as saying, "Thank you for the recognition." Whether the presentation was in person or online, I heard that same thing back. People would tell me through their own feedback that they did the exact same thing. Reject a compliment the moment they received one. It was common across the community. A lot of us had confused humility with making ourselves smaller. They're not the same thing. You can be humble and still let your contribution stand. You can appreciate recognition without thinking you're better than anyone else. Knowing I had this pattern was one thing. Catching it in the moment every time it showed up was another. Once I could catch it, I began shifting my response. Instead of writing back, there was no need to recognize me, I started saying, "Thank you for the recognition. I truly enjoyed helping." That small change was a bigger shift than it looks. I wasn't taking anything away from what I've done anymore. I wasn't becoming arrogant, and I wasn't fishing for more praise. I was simply letting myself receive something someone had freely chosen to give me. I continue to see this pattern in people who are highly capable and generous but uncomfortable being on the receiving end. They can give, support, and perform without hesitation, yet accepting recognition, care, or help unconsciously brings up a completely different belief about their value. The same pattern can start showing up in other places too, ones that might matter to you even more than a compliment ever could. Not just in recognition, but in opportunities, mentorship, and support. Professional growth almost always requires someone else investing in you. A mentor sharing what they know, an advocate speaking up for you in rooms you're not in, a sponsor putting your name forward for a role or an opportunity. Many of us don't miss opportunities because we aren't capable. We miss them because moving forward often require us to ask, receive guidance, or let someone else support our growth. If needing support means I'm not good enough, or I should be able to do this on my own, we may avoid asking altogether. That is why this goes far beyond compliments. It is connected to what we believe we are worthy and deserving of receiving in every area of our lives. Receiving also plays an important role in manifestation. We talk a lot about goals and abundance, about getting clear on what we want, but we rarely stop to ask the simpler question underneath all of it. Am I actually comfortable receiving what I want? Wanting something is one thing, believing you're capable, worthy, and deserving of receiving it is something else entirely. During my certification, Marissa Peer taught us to think about giving and receiving like breathing. You inhale and you exhale. You receive and you give. You can exhale as much as you want, but if you never inhale again, eventually you will have nothing left to give. Giving and receiving work the same way. They're part of the same natural rhythm. You give and you receive, and both are necessary. Even though receiving is natural, the beliefs we attach to it can make it feel uncomfortable. For one person, asking for help may mean I'm not capable enough to do this on my own. For someone else, receiving recognition may feel uncomfortable because they do not believe they deserve it. Another person may immediately wonder, how am I going to repay them? Or what are they going to expect from me? Different beliefs can create the same pattern. We minimize what is being offered, question it, reject it, or avoid receiving it altogether. The breakthrough is understanding that receiving is not separate from giving. It is part of the same natural rhythm. We cannot continue giving our time, energy, support, kindness, or love without also learning how to receive. The real work is not forcing yourself to receive, it is understanding what receiving means to you, what belief is being brought up, and why something so natural has become so uncomfortable. Here are a few questions to help you understand what receiving may mean to you. What does receiving mean to you? Does asking for help make you feel incapable? Does accepting recognition feel arrogant? When someone gives you something, do you immediately wonder, what will I owe them? Pay attention to the meaning underneath your reaction, because sometimes the difficulty is not receiving the help, recognition, or gift. It is what you believe receiving it says about you. The answers to those questions can tell you far more than the reaction itself. The next time someone thanks you, recognizes your work, or compliments your effort, pause before you explain it away. Notice what happens inside you. Do you receive it or do you hand it right back? Growth can also look like learning to receive without feeling that you have to earn it, repay it, or minimize yourself. Let the recognition land. Smile and simply say thank you. If receiving has been uncomfortable for you, it may be affecting far more than compliments, recognition, or asking for help. It may also be affecting your ability to manifest what you consciously say you want. That's exactly what we'll explore in next week's article. You may consciously want more support, recognition, opportunity, love, or abundance, while an older belief is still telling you what you have to earn, repay it, or prove that you deserve it. These patterns are not always obvious because they can look like humility, independence, or simply being hardworking. But underneath them may be a deeper belief about you and your worth and what it means to receive. Through hypnosis and subconscious work, I help people uncover where these beliefs began so they can feel more comfortable receiving the support, recognition, opportunities, and care they consciously want. If you are tired of automatically minimizing recognition, rejecting support, or feeling uncomfortable receiving what you consciously want, I invite you to schedule a complimentary exploratory call. During the call, we will briefly discuss the pattern you want to change, what you've been experiencing, and whether you're a good fit for this type of work. You can schedule your call at www.thethrivingpathways.com/appointment. Thank you for listening to Breakthrough Weekly. I hope today's episode helped you recognize a pattern that may have been easy to overlook or misunderstand. If this episode resonated with you, subscribe or follow so you don't miss next week's conversation. You can also share this episode with someone who may need to hear it and leave a comment or review with what stood out to you. And if you recognize that discomfort with receiving is part of a deeper pattern you are tired of repeating, don't forget that you can schedule a complimentary exploratory call using the link in the episode description. Until next time, keep paying attention to what your automatic reactions may be revealing.